Test, test, test. Test, test,
Yes,
test.
I can hear it. Thank you.
Test, test, testing.
Yes.
For Nancy, testing.
I can hear it. Thank you.
Good morning, all. It's Sunday after Thanksgiving, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Evansville. My name is Tom Moore, and I'm the worship leader this morning. You know, there aren't many of us here, which is not a surprise, but the mystics say that the people who are supposed to be at a place are at a place. So here we go. I'd like to begin by singing. We have two hymns this week that to my knowledge, we have not sung before, but life is for learning, and we'd like to begin our service by singing in the Teal hymnal, the first one, hymn number 1000, and Bill will play it through, and Mark will lead us.
Stand if you're willing and able.
So Mark and I will do one verse together, and then you're welcome to come in, okay? So one verse. All right, Mark, here we go.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Let's try verse 1 again. Morning has come, arise and greet the day, and dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills those
Super duper. Again, welcome to the Independent Universalist Church of Evansville. We welcome you, whoever you are, however you got here. We welcome all that is the essence of you. We ask now if there are any church-related announcements that need to be made.
Good morning. This Friday is our Friends Night Out at Fujiyama in North Park. It'll be in the announcements once again, but please, we only have, I think, 3 people signed up, 2 of them whom are Ken and me. But if you want to go, please let me know. I think it'll be good. It's Japanese. They have sushi, but they also have quite a variety of other things. Also, Sharon isn't going to, obviously, she's not here today. Bev Tonso died a few nights ago. And there's a really beautiful picture of her out on the table. And Sharon said there will be a service at Alexander East, but it's not going to be in the next few weeks. It'll be a while before the service happens. So thanks. And new members class, December 11th.
Barbara, the time for the dinner, please.
6 o'clock for the dinner. And please let me know either today or sometime before Thursday, because I have to let them know the number.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a friend that is the minister of the church at Ebenezer Baptist Church on Linwood, right off of, I think, Lincoln. So anyway, it's called Ebenezer Baptist Church, and she emailed me and asked me to spread the word that they do a shoe drive. Actually, they continually do a shoe drive, and when they collect enough, another 501c3 collects them, and somehow they get some money. So if you've got old shoes in your closet, please think about giving to this person. I'm going to put this information out on the desk, and if you think of it and aren't here, call me and I'll give you the information too. Anyway, just if you have some old shoes, think about giving them away. Thanks. This church, they provide meals 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they also give out groceries if people ask for them. So that's why they need the money. Thanks.
Further directions, it's in the Linwood between Walnut and Lincoln. It's right in the middle of the block. Thank you for that. Any other announcements? Okay, well, let's take a minute to share some good energy with each other. Stand up, move around, and let's spend a few minutes greeting one another.
No, it's a good thing. It's great for the kids. Do you hear me if I talk from here? Is this okay? Hey, I wanted to say something about what I'm going to play. This is. I don't think they can hear you there. I don't know why I hate microphones, but I hate microphones. Now you can hear me okay? Yeah, I'm going to play a great piece by Claude Debussy. It's from his first book of Preludes, and he gave titles to all his pieces. There's 24 of these, and but he put the title at the end. So you're supposed to imagine something and maybe be correct or not, and who cares by the end when you see what he wrote. But I give you the title right away. It's called The Sunken Cathedral, and I think you can imagine. Well, if you know Brittany and Normandy in France, there's high tides, and when the tides go out, there's all kinds of really remarkable stone structures that appear in the midst of the sand. So it doesn't take much to imagine what those figures must look like when the tide's way out, and maybe it's a little misty, foggy, a little bit dark, and so forth. So the thing here is that there supposedly was an island that's with people and a church, I presume, that sank in the sea there, but it comes back to life when the tide rolls out. So I think you should be able to hear the life of that island and certainly the church bells, and then they, I guess, sink under again, and well, you'll hear the end. This is the French words are la cathédrale engloutie.
You know, there are times when it seems really inappropriate to speak, and this is one of those that was so beautiful. Bill, thank you so much. Now, with Unitarian Universalist churches worldwide, we light our chalice, and if I could have a volunteer, please. Here's a reading by Walter Royal Jones, Jr. Mindful of truth ever exceeding our knowledge and community ever exceeding our practice, reverently we covenant together, beginning with ourselves as we are, to share the strength of integrity and the heritage of the Spirit in the unending quest for wisdom and love. Oh, I knew this would happen. Preceding our offering, I want to share a poem with you called The Iceberg Theory. And I do want to tell you there are 2 swear words in it, which I will read because they seem appropriate in this context. The Iceberg Theory. All the food critics hate iceberg lettuce. You'd think romaine was descended from Orpheus's laurel wreath. You'd think raw spinach had all the nutritional benefits attributed to it by Popeye, not to mention aesthetic subtleties worthy of Lorraine and Debussy. They'll even salivate over chopped red cabbage just to disparage poor old Mr. Iceberg lettuce. I guess the problem is it's just too common for them. It doesn't matter that it tastes good, has a satisfying crunchy texture, holds its freshness, and has crevices for the dressing, whereas the darker, leafier varieties are often bitter, gritty, and flat. It just isn't different enough, and it's too goddamn American. Of course, a critic has to criticize. A critic has to have something to say. Perhaps that's why literary critics purport to find interesting so much of contemporary poetry that just bores the shit out of me. At any rate, I really enjoy a salad with plenty of chunky iceberg lettuce, the more the merrier, drenched in an Italian or Roquefort dressing, and the poems I enjoy are those I don't have to pretend that I'm enjoying. So as we take our offering today, my hope is that it helps support a place where we can accept iceberg lettuce, whether it's common or not, that we can accept Roquefort dressing and we can converse about that we can honestly say what we think about a poem or a piece of literature or even an idea without fear of belittlement or retribution, that will be such a place and that we can grow together. So in that spirit, let the offering now be taken. For the children today, this is what I want you to think about. This is at least culturally purported to be a season of celebration. Whether that's true or not, we can debate. But I've just asked you to think about the last party you attended to. Do you have birthday parties? Are they fun? What makes them fun? Cool, something good to eat. And presents, you get to give presents. Well, hold those thoughts as we continue with our service, that we can have good food, gifts, and what constitutes a good gift. Thank you very much. Our opening words are another poem. Called Confessions by Stefan Dobness, D-O-B-Y-N-S. Not sure how to pronounce that. The Nazi within me thinks it's time to take charge. The world's a mess. People are crazy. The Nazi within me wants windows shut tight, new locks put on the doors. There's too much fresh air, too much coming and going. The Nazi within me wants more respect. He wants the only TV camera, the only bank account, the only really pretty girl. The Nazi within me wants to be boss of traffic and traffic lights. People drive too fast. They take up too much space. The Nazi within me thinks people are getting away with murder. He wants to be the boss of murder. He wants to be the boss of bananas, boss of white bread. The Nazi within me wants uniforms for everyone. He wants them to wash their hands, sit up straight, pay strict attention. He wants to make certain they say yes when he says yes, no when he says no. He imagines everybody sitting in straight chairs, people all over the world sitting in straight chairs. Are you ready? He asks them. They say they are ready. Are you ready to be happy? He asks them. They say they are ready to be happy. The Nazi within me wants everyone to be happy, but not too happy, and definitely not noisy. No singing, no dancing, no carrying on. We take time each week to share the stories of our lives, because everyone's life is truly important. And in many of our experiences, this is one of the most sacred times of the week. So we ask you now, if you have a joy, sorrow, or concern that you want to share with the community, that you come to the mic on the phone, take a pebble from the clear bowl and put it in a bowl of water to symbolize the effect of sharing and the support of the community. And we will begin with joys. Does anyone have a joy they want to share this morning? Now we will take a few moments to center ourselves, a quiet time in which you can pray, meditate, or simply enjoy the silence. And we will break that by singing hymn number 123 in the great hymnal, Spirit of Life. I wanted us to take a few moments this morning to think about the holidays. And as we've heard already, there are many, many wonderful things that can happen. All the family gatherings and friends gatherings and good foods that we just heard testimony to are really important things and are soul enriching things. But my schizophrenia about this time is that I'm seeing that a lot these days, so you're going to have to put me away soon, I'm sure, with all my schizophrenia. But so much of the culture is about being busy at this time. It's not the advertisements, at least when I watch the news, whatever, it's always Black Friday sales. And then it's going to be other sales. So it's about going out and getting something, whatever. And the notion that it's a time when it is getting darker, but then it's going to get light again. And our ancestors knew that almost intuitively. The pagan celebrations around the solstice, or at least I'm not sure about Middle East and Asian cultures, but at least in European cultures, it was, people had big fires, and there was this intuitive knowledge that it was a season, a particular season. The plants know it for sure, because all the trees now are losing their leaves, but they're taking in nutrients so that in the spring they can burst forth with new growth and new life. People kind of recognize that, and that the darkness of the season is not the end. It is just a part of the life cycle, and there was some recognition of that. And I just think, that this busyness about, well, again, this is schizophrenic, because none of these things are bad or seem to be bad in their sales, but decorating. Some decorations are really, really pretty. If you drive around, some are just gorgeous. Others, at least in my opinion, are quite tacky. But nevertheless, people do decorate. We have parties often, and some of those are wonderful and organic. Others are sort of have-to things, particularly if you work in an office that has a Christmas thing and you got to figure out what to give to your coworker that already has everything, which is kind of a problem across the board. But you've got to decorate your house, you've got to send Christmas cards, you've got to, and just this busyness about it, instead of asking, it is a season. It's a wonderful season. Doesn't have to be depressing. It's part of life. It's part of our life cycle. And what nourishes our spirit and soul in all of this? What kind of celebrations can we have that do that, as opposed to just picking up the hottest thing that they're advertising, even cars. And there's 2 or 3 car dealerships were advertising Black Friday sales. So those of you who have an extra $30,000, $40,000 hanging around, you can run out and buy a new vehicle. And again, for me anyway, it's not that any of those things are bad. I love getting Christmas cards, but this sort of have-to thing that we've developed, and I think not only for us but for all faith communities, that we could do a better job of articulating the soul nourishment of the season. And I just think we miss that a lot. Many Protestant churches that I have either known often do Christmas plays, and they're the most sentimental, sad things imaginable, to me anyway. And instead of, what are the stories? What do they mean? And again, what might be a nurturing thing to do? And then I think about what we can do as a congregation, and this often gets me in trouble because we are a small congregation, and maybe it's just the meanderings of a increasingly older person, and they don't make sense. But I think of where we are on Morgan Avenue. Morgan Avenue is one of the busiest streets in the city. People are going and coming from the mall, and I was thinking, what if every Saturday for our Lenten services, we opened up and had chamomile tea or something and had people to come in and rest and recoup instead of battling the crowds at the mall as a ministry for us, and that even be possible. And what if we had dances that were genuinely celebratory and not have to stuff? I'm not a dancer, but I think we need to dance more, just for the fun of it and what it does for our souls. Things like that, things to take. Even the word Yule, I learned some years ago, is an English version of a Norse word that means to turn. And so the earth is turning. And so when we think of Yule celebrations, there's a turning that could be nourishing, and to reflect on that. And how are we turning, and to what are we turning toward? Might be a thing. What if we had conversations around the meaning of all these things from whatever traditions, just to do it as a seasonal celebratory activity. That's my schizophrenia, looking at the time. I don't know if you have thoughts about the season and what seems to be the madness of it, and what can be wonderfully good on its own, and perhaps soul satisfying as well. I remember, Bill, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I remember a couple of years ago when you had been part of a Messiah production, and just how transcendent that was. And so instead of this crappy recorded Christmas music that you hear on the radio, that we had actual music that moved us in a deep way. Anyway, that's where I come down on the season. There's great things about it, but the culture, I think, really has hollowed it out into this consumptive nonsense and busyness that just wears people out, instead of having us think about, again, it is a season, it is a turning. It's could be a time of genuine joyfulness, and not just a wearing out of having to do this, that, and the other thing, because that's what's advertised to us. Thoughts?
I certainly agree with what you said about and I would put it as forced busyness. Must get presents, must do this, must decorate. And a few years ago, after we got here, we just stopped, Barbara and I did. And we took the plastic Christmas tree, which we'd finally gotten because we got tired of real ones. And if we even ever had one, though I used 2 years ago, my family always had the tree that we had to have. The needles were on the ground by the time Christmas rolled around, or on the carpet, for me to vacuum, of course, but which was fine. It just seems like it's something we just don't need to participate in. We have no close family here anyway. The DeMott's the nearest family, so it's just Barbara and me. We enjoy it. As plain as a good, for me, a good bourbon, for her, a good cup of tea, and cuddling, and that's really a nice Christmas. And a few cards.
I guess I'll do a pitch for Messiah since Tom mentioned it, but I don't sing with the Evansville Philharmonic Orchestra chorus anymore, but my wife Jill does. And every year they do put it on. And usually it's 2 performances in town here, and I didn't know he was going to say this, and so I don't know the date exactly, but it's like the week before Christmas. And it's always performed here in Trinity, church downtown. Absolutely beautiful church. And among other things, these are all folks from town. My wife is singing in it, everyone else. Well, the soloists are brought in from somewhere, and some of the instrumentalists come from elsewhere, but otherwise, it's a totally hometown kind of thing, and it's absolutely beautiful. Plus, the new symphony conductor is a young guy, greatly reduced the amount of music, which is a good thing. You know how it goes on, Messiah. So he cut it way down, which is nice. So it's manageable. They'll also do it in the big Catholic church in Jasper at Easter time. But I'd recommend you're going. There's a string orchestra. There's continuo. There's soloists. There's 40 people in the chorus. Fancy conductor, and so on. It's a great event, and it's a beautiful event in that beautiful church. That's it. Oh man, it's always a weekend, Friday or Saturday. If I had known, I would have looked into it. That sounds about right. It's about a week before Christmas. Yeah. So yeah.
I have to say too, if you've never been to Trinity, it is a particularly beautiful church, and it decorates gorgeously. They have lots of green and candles, and it's a fabulous setting. Acoustics are very good too, and it's a great piece. And my personal bias with Baroque is it's the real roots of rock and roll. So it's got the anyway.
So Tom, I really get the schizophrenia kind of
thank you
feeling that you were talking about, because so our holiday celebrations are always seem chaotic to me, which, as I said earlier, I'm finally feeling like that's fun. Sometimes the holidays can be a very lonely time, if you don't have family, close ones to rub elbows with and hang out with. It can be very lonely. So there's this feeling that, it should be joyful, but but sometimes not. That can be real schizophrenic. But then for me also, wintertime, dark, quiet, that to me feels like a lot of what the season is, a time to stop and reflect. And yet we also fill it up with these, people, got to see this person, that person, everybody. So that's also schizophrenic. And my thoughts are pretty jumbled, maybe bipolar is what's going on with me.
We should hang out more together.
I read once that the whole wreath idea came about from the Celtic culture, that at this time, at the winter holidays, they would take the wheels off of their wagons and their chariots and hang them on the wall and wind, evergreen, I guess pine and holly and everything on their wheels, but taking the wheels off of their carts and their means of transportation would mean they didn't go anywhere. They stayed close. Time for quiet, not busyness. And then my last thought, Ellie Jane and I are both Robert Frost fans, and it brought to mind one of his poems, stopping in the woods on a snowy evening, or on a winter evening. I can't remember the title. Snowy Evening? But to me, that's a real holiday feeling. Moonlight, starlight, cold winter's night, quiet. That to me really is if I can do that a few times and just to be peaceful, that's a real winter holiday feeling for me.
Thank you.
So I think in the fall, we learn about the beauty of letting things go, right? And then we were talking, you were speaking eloquently earlier about earlier pagan traditions. And I think one of the sense of busyness has to do with the dichotomy between our contemporary view of time and the calendar dates and things happening on time, every day, when these celebrations were really seasons. And what can we do? And hibernation time and quiet and bears going to sleep. And I would like to sleep sometimes the winter away, but I also like the candlelight and the magic of it. But I think another thing too is stopping and thinking and communicating face to face with each other about what our expectations are. If we expect to spend time together and enjoy each other, or if we expect to have a certain list together and a certain grouping of events and organizational priorities and what that means. And I think it's particularly difficult for women and mothers and wives traditionally, because they're often putting together these big events and decorating and
Indeed.
yeah, and there was actually a tradition in the North that by December 21st, everything had to stop, because otherwise Frau Hulda, Mother Goose would be very upset. And I think that was a way for women to say, I want to quit by now and enjoy myself too. And I think that I saw a friend post the other day that she had sat down at the table at Thanksgiving and spoken with her family. And she said, the mountain of anxiety has been climbed. We have all reached an agreement as to our expectations for the holiday. And what a sigh of relief and a breath of fresh air that must have been. We don't talk enough. We social media a lot, and we email and we text, but we don't talk a lot about our feelings on these things. And I think if we did, we might find a lot of joy in things. And I know that this year I have taken a minute to decide that even if something doesn't fill my heart with joy, if it gives joy, if somebody else feels joy because of it, I'm not going to judge that.
Right.
Whatever makes your weary heart skip a little beat and enjoy your time, whether it's a song that I don't personally like or a decoration that I might find, a little over the top. I'm happy because you're happy. And that's what I've decided to do, is say, I love this time of year because you love this time of year. But that doesn't mean I have to go shopping in the same way that you go shopping. And if we can interface with each other that way, I think that'll help make a peaceful holiday.
Very well said. Thank you. Anyone else here? Anybody online?
I'd like to share something. First, I want to thank Molly for what she said in particular, but also thank Tom for what he said. This is a difficult time of year for me. My father, my mother, my favorite aunt all died between Thanksgiving and New Year's. On New Year's they died. And one of the things that's helped me the most to really enjoy the holiday is letting go of expectations. I don't send cards anymore. I don't do much decorating. I even have permission from my family not to go to the family get together. And so this year I'm staying home and they're all going. And it makes it tremendously easier on me. And I really thank people for that freedom. And then I can really enjoy the things that I do enjoy about the holiday, which is mostly the being together with family and friends. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Very well said. Thank you, Molly. And Molly?
My favorite, over the years, last 10 years or so, my favorite holiday or celebration during this time of year is winter solstice. And when I lived in Indianapolis, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Indianapolis had a winter solstice service in the evening. And it grew to the point where they actually had to have two winter solstice. But the chairs were all put in a circle. There was drumming, and we had the congregation had a person who loved drumming and singing in rounds and that sort of thing. So she was the key player in organizing that and making it happen. But what was beautiful about it is we sat in the dark, except for a few candles that were lit through the whole service, and then and so it really toned down the whole vibe and rhythm of the holiday season for me. And everything was decorated in greens and paper stars and snowflakes and things. So now, I'm not in a place that I know of that has that kind of service. So I have to create my own winter solstice service. And that to me gives me time for reflection. It's a celebration of the coming darkness, but also the turning point when light returns. So winter solstice is my favorite thing to celebrate during this time of year.
Cool.
So one of the things I've discovered with our family Christmas over the years is it's evolved. My family of origin, family Christmas, is how to let go of what feels like an obligation sometimes, what feels, we used to draw names and then exchange presents, and then there got to be too many people for that, so we stopped doing that, and it was just presents for the kids, and then we did other things. But people wanted to give things, and so then it would be, I made these soaps, and everybody can take a soap, and it wasn't ever discussed. It just, people started showing up with a little something for everybody, and then that started to feel like an obligation. And one of the worst ones I can remember is because we would always get into town late the night before this event. And that year I just didn't have anything. I hadn't made cookies or candy, and it was just, I made a midnight run to Walgreens to get candy canes and chocolate bars and tape so I could make these stupid little sleighs out of them so I would have something to give. And it was crazy, and I kind of knew it was crazy at the time I was doing it, but it was just the sense of panic. And after that was over and I got a little distance, I could see this is not what's supposed to be happening. And so sometimes I still make things and take them. Sometimes I don't, which helps give everybody else permission to skip a year or two if they need to. And so if you feel like you should do something and you're not, just remember you may be helping somebody else by lowering expectations.
Yeah. Well said. Anyone else?
In listening to all this, I've been thinking about what you've said, and I really love a bonfire for winter solstice, and just sitting outside, with good warm clothes on, and sitting around a fire is wonderful. And also, the other morning, I woke up a little earlier than usual, and I noticed that the shades in our bedroom were like pinker than they usually are. And I opened the window and all these rays of red were going through the sky. This was just a few days ago. And I was like, wow, I miss this usually. And also sunsets. Sometimes I see them and sometimes I don't. And so listening to this is make me think, maybe I ought to just, find out when those two times are and make it a thing to do this month, because to me, it's exciting to see the shorter days. And then on that next day, it's like, so tomorrow it's a little more daylight, I get a kick out of that. But I want to pay more attention to it. So thanks for all the ideas.
Well, thank you. Thank you all.
Deborah would like to share something too, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I meant to ask again. Thank you. My bad.
Hi. One thing that I've tried to do over the past several years, besides having a bonfire on the winter solstice, is also when it comes to gifts, try to find things that the family can do together. For example, zoo memberships or season tickets to plays, or going to things, that making arrangements to go to things together to make family time throughout the year. I just thought I'd throw that in. Thanks.
Oh, what a great idea. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, as always, I learn so much from all of you, and I appreciate first of all, that you indulge me, and secondly, that I learned so much from you. So thank you very much. Thank all of you. Okay, we have our closing hymn now. It's number 326 in the gray hymnal, which is also, to my knowledge, one that we have not sung before, but it's very singable, and Bill will play and Mark will lead.
Mark and I will go through it once. So stand if you're willing and able. Yeah. Here we go. Let all the beauty of we have known illuminate our hearts and minds. Rejoice in wonder daily shown, in faith and joy and love that binds. We celebrate with singing hearts the loveliness of sky and earth, the inspiration of the hearts, the miracle of every birth. Life's music and its poetry surround and bless us through our days, for these we sing in harmony, together giving thanks and praise.
If you'd remain standing, please, if you're able, and repeat the words in the bulletin as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame. The fire of commitment we carry in our hearts are together again. Closing words are by Václav Havel. Again, in the essence of the mind, there is transcendence, the effort to step beyond all horizons. From this, of course, it also follows that the mind violates its own horizon as well. We reflect on our ability to reflect. We know that we know. We know that we know that we know. We know that we have been separated. We know of our thrownness. We know of the unattainability of what we strive toward, and we know that we cannot help but strive toward it. We know that we don't know and what we cannot know. And the more radically we step beyond our limitations, the better we know them. And the better we know them, the more obviously we step beyond them. Go in peace, and may your living bless the world.